Hi everyone and welcome to another channeled messages reading. These messages are based on synchronicity, so if you're someone who might have asked for divine guidance in the very recent past, there is a small chance for you to find an answer, a clue or a hint among these messages. So you don't have to choose any card, just take what resonates and discard the rest. Now, coincidentally, this channeled messages reading is done under a very powerful Aquarian full moon, where the ruler of Aquarius forms conversations of tension with both the sun and the moon. So this can be very surprising, shocking, unexpected. And to my own surprise, these messages actually surprised me as well. This is one of the ways this Aquarius full moon manifested in my life. Because, from an astrological perspective, this should be like rebellious energy, shocking energy. It can have a certain degree of violence to it, even if it's just psychological violence, inner frustration or whatever. But it's not what I expected at all. These messages are predominantly positive and hopeful, and since Uranus represents the objective truth and a full moon is always revelatory, as in it sheds light on things hidden from our sight, and Aquarius has much to do with our future plans or simply the future, our hopes and dreams. Everything about today represents, the future and clarity and truth. So these messages are predominantly positive and hopeful, and it is not what I expected. And I'm in the position where I can't even think. When something is too good to be true, it usually turns out to be exactly that. But under an Aquarian full moon, I simply cannot destroy my own optimism with my principles, because even the very nature of the energy present in the sky today is that of truth. So I have to bow and admit that maybe there's a small chance that this is actually more correct than incorrect. But anyway, this really doesn't matter. Let's just get on to the messages. Now the first message is the devil, as in the bindweed in the oracle deck, clarified by the 3 of fire, meaning the 3 of wands. And this goes out for someone who is feeling very stuck in every area of their lives. And they kind of struggled and even a lot of time to free themselves from every single burden, shackle, everything that is basically taking away their liberty, taking away their joy, taking away their true optimistic nature. Because, the 3 of fire represents that you're actually a very optimistic, you're a very light-hearted, you're a very easy to get along with person, you're full of joy, you're full of, childlike frequencies. So whenever you're in a good mood, whenever you're in your comfort zone, psychologically speaking, you basically irradiate so much love, so much happiness, so much optimism, so much hope, so much inspiration basically to everyone around you, including total strangers, including people who you don't even like, who you don't even resonate with. So basically you're like a sun in the life of everyone. But it is exactly this trait of your personality, of your inner child, of your divine spark that is kept in shackles. It is being suffocated, drained by that bindweed, as in the devil. And you might be reaching a point where you might say, well, I just don't know how to fight this anymore. I have tried absolutely everything in my power to set myself free. And the irony of this situation is that you actually succeeded. You removed so very many outer obstacles, limitations, tricks, illusions coming from society or from other people. You disconnected from false friends or people who really didn't belong in your life. You removed so many inner obstacles. You removed traumas, you removed fears, you removed conditioning, a desire to please people. So you should be absolutely fine. Your true optimistic childlike spirit should be radiating from you. You should be, on top of the world, because that is the person that you are. That is the spirit that you are. Yet it's still not happening, and you have no idea what is keeping you shackled. And I think in the present moment, all you want is just to burst free, to be yourself, to be who you are in the very core of your heart and your heart space. Because don't get me wrong, you know in your heart of hearts exactly who you are. And that is why it's so painful not to be able to be optimistic, not to be able to express yourself, to shine, to burst with power, happiness, joy. Don't get me wrong, you're not the toxic positive person who tries everything in their power to be positive. No, you're quite the contrary. It comes naturally to you, it flows through you. You're the type of person who doesn't really allow obstacles to bring them down, because you see life as a game. You don't take it seriously. You are so in tuned mentally, psychologically, even your sheer willpower, that three of fire, with the divine patterns, where you absolutely naturally, without even trying, know that basically matter and life and the whole world and the whole drama is just an illusion, a necessary illusion, an illusion which keeps everything in existence, absolutely, but that doesn't make it any less of an illusion. So why should you even take it that much seriously? But it is exactly this nature, this spirit of yours, that is being almost taken away from you, and you want to be free because this is who you are. That is exactly why positive people, optimistic people who are actually try hard, who just try it with every fiber of their beings to force this upon themselves, to repress their pain, etc., they annoy you infinitely, because you can see a fake, because you know what true is, because you're true. But of course, it's not exactly this that you want to hear, because you know this already. What the universe suggests through these cards is that there is still something that is being hidden from your sight, but it's not any trick, it's not any manipulation or even self-deception. It is basically the final requirement for you to step into your position of power, and the last chain has to basically break off of your being, of your psyche, of your heart, and that is, you have to be true to who you are in the very deep core of your heart. Now, it's not that you are not being true to yourself, but you're restricting your ego. You are restricting your identity, in the sense that you willfully, as in expressively, have to embody the archetype of a very serious, diligent person, full of rationality, logic, someone who is actually the representation of the inner adult, of the responsible, mature, diligent teacher, or this might be the role that you have to perform in society, maybe in your career or in your family life. It doesn't matter, but this is one of the suits, so to speak, that you have to put on yourself from time to time, as in routine, periodically. But the thing is, you are actually identifying with it when that is not really you. You are just a child. You're like a divine spark whose inner child cannot be shackled, who, deep inside of yourself, in the most arcane corners of your heart and mind, you are not an inner adult. Just because you have the maturity, the knowledge, the life experience, the diligence and sense of responsibility for other people in a very non-selfish kind of way, you accept to do this sacrifice, to embody even something that you're not for the greater good, to please the universe, to please society, to please other human beings, because you're very, very talented, you're very mature in thinking, you're very philosophical. So this is the only way you can use these, results and fruits of your life experience and your labor to put it in the service of others. And that is absolutely fine. But you must see the illusion in it, because it is just a suit, a role that you put on yourself periodically. You cannot identify with what you're not really, with what you truly don't represent as in your spirit. So you must make the difference between the two. You must know that when you play the role of the mature, of the advisor, of the adult, of the counselor, or whatever in the lives of others, that is just one thing. That is a necessary mask that you put on yourself. And it doesn't go against anything, because the universe itself has 10 trillion masks. As in, think of religion. How many different religions are there? And it's the same thing, really. Or how many archons or avatars or archetypes are there? That is all a mask, basically. A mask that the unity uses to communicate with different representations of itself. So of course you have to do this as well, but don't identify with it, don't believe in it. Rather believe in who you truly are, and know the difference when you're stepping out of your authenticity, as in a sacrifice you offer to the universe, to the world, to society, to the earth, to your physical self, as in you represent the archetype of Saturn. You give the Caesar what, belongs naturally to the Caesar. You perform this role because you can. You're skilled at it. But that doesn't mean that that is who you truly are. Allow yourself to be who you are, at least inside of you. Don't identify mentally or emotionally with your role. Know that that is what it is. But who you truly are is an infinitely wonderful, beautiful, eternally free Peter Pan, inside of your spirit. And when you make this choice to simply feed your true identity and not the role that you have to embody, that will be the moment when you're going to burst free, and all shackles, limitations, and everything that you feel like is taking away your freedom are gonna fall off you instantly. In other words, you have to eliminate the desire to please the world, even the universe, anything that is not you, to please them with perfection. Everyone sacrifices what they can. So just by embodying your role, that's more than enough. You don't have to identify with it. You don't have to forcefully be it for the sake of authenticity, because you cannot turn an illusion into truth by not killing yourself, by not killing your inner child. So just wake up to reality and make the difference. Shut down the desire to please others, even if that others is the universe, because that is not how things work, really. The universe doesn't do it for you. It is not gonna manifest in front of your eyes and reveal its total mystery to you. So why should you do the same? If the universe is not a perfectionist in this world, then you have to follow the example of the primary source, basically. Now moving on to the second message, here we have the Judgment and the Six of Coins. Now this message is a little bit under a shroud of mystery, because the Judgment card represents either divine timing or a fated moment in your life which you are more than aware of, and you are waiting for it and have been waiting for it for a long time. Maybe 20 months, maybe 2 years, maybe 20 years. But it is something really, really important, because it can either be a final piece of the puzzle where when it happens, immediately you possess the big picture. Your karmic cycle is complete, as in you're karma free. You can truly do with your life, with yourself, what you want without soul contracts, without any obligations, without any reminiscence of the past to bother you, etc. It is something that it can give you a power. I'm not exactly sure how to interpret this, but a kind of power which you have either asked for, worked for, or needed in your life. May this be, for example, power, as in material abundance to do something that would otherwise be impossible, because it's, or at least it has a material element to it. It can be knowledge, for example, know-how, a secret methodology. It can also be something expiring, something eliminated from your life, an obstacle, a burden, a person maybe. But whatever this is, if it means elimination, well, it wasn't in your power to do this personally, so that's why you waited for fate. But it could be like anything really. It can even go outside of the human sphere. It can be something maybe supernatural, or I'm not exactly sure. This is where you have to know what that big fated event is. But this is where the Six of Coins comes into play, and it tells you that the time that you have been waiting for is very, very near, and it might come as a shock and surprise for you, because you might have already surrendered it, or you might have already entered the denial phase that, oh, let's be serious, it will never happen. Or you might be someone who, quite correctly gave up on wanting to know the moment, the time, the place, or how it's gonna happen, because you just say, oh, okay, surprise me. I'll just take this out of my sphere of expectations and just place it into great unknown mystery, one of life's mysteries. And this act of surrendering actually made you more ready than you could have imagined, because this time the surrender was truly authentic. You surrendered hope and everything, and didn't exactly replace it with despair or hard feelings, and that made you ready. So basically, you showed the universe that you're actually ready to receive. This is one of the interpretations of the Six of Coins. Another interpretation is that you will precisely know when the moment, as in the fated event, is going to enter your life, either when you receive a sign that you have asked for, a specific sign that you agreed with the universe to send you when the time is near, or it could be that the sign is going to be you receiving an unexpected present, gift, honor, a small gesture of appreciation, but in a very unexpected, not even intuitively sensible way, as in a total surprise. And it's gonna be a case of when something good happens to you, well, it comes in threes, for example. So it will be a chain of lucky events which will lead you to your destination, so to speak. But either way, even without the specifics, this just represents a big karmic completion, where what awaits you is simply a state where you just get sucked in, but in the most pleasant expression of this term, into your dharma. So from a karmic perspective, this is like a totally different a totally new state of being for you. So accept everything in your life to, over the next 6 months, to change totally. But first of all, the nuance, the vibe, the feeling, I don't even know how to explain this. The energetic imprint of everything in your life, that is what's gonna change. And the way you are gonna experience this is that everything will feel new, different, maybe a little bit weird, a little bit unusual, and a certain period of time has to pass until you find this new state of being comfortable, and then things are really gonna happen, but not according to fate, not according to any script or plan or anything like that. More like reality is just gonna start reacting very strongly to your present desires. But since you are someone who already mastered desires and how and what to desire in a very healthy and in a very balanced way, you have absolutely nothing to worry about. Moving on to the next message, here we have the Chariot and the Four of Swords. Now these cards might be a total contradiction to one another, but it's actually a hidden synergy between them, because the Chariot can represent a lot of emotional energy invested into something that had to be progressive, that had to move forward. Basically, many things in your life, in different areas of your life, depended on it. And of course, naturally, you pumped all the emotion, all the inner power, all the spirit that you had inside of you into it. And of course, things started moving, things started evolving, It was a rather slow but gradual evolution. Don't get me wrong, it had a lot of obstacles, it had a lot of, hidden blockages, because there was one point when that Chariot of yours was reversed, meaning that you either had to solve a dichotomy, a conflict, a blockage, something that wasn't really working, something that was holding your chariot in place. Now this can be a project, this can be with your job. If you own your own business, it can be the business. If you're freelancer, it could be, your activities. But it can also be something that has nothing to do with work or the role that you play. It could be seeking a new relationship, seeking, a different way of doing things, different lifestyle, different, routines. This can also represent the start of a massive life change, where that life change is based on a lot of inner work, where you did everything by the book, you eliminated bad habits, you changed the way you think about things, you changed your perceptions, you opened yourself up, you made yourself much more caring, kinder, gentler to yourself, basically. As in, you fixed the relationship you have with the self, with the ego, maybe the shadow. You fixed relationships with your family, your loved ones, or those people who are a permanent part of your life, and you actually want this to be that way. But at the same time, you also eliminated not so pleasant people, obligations, people who were simply using you or abusing you. The Chariot can also represent where you eliminated a long-term medical problem or something which was affecting your physical body and your health in not a very good way. But right now, the Four of Swords represents that you even need to take a break from, putting as much emotional effort, pumping willpower, ambition, desire into the change that you are still working on, that you are still on the journey to accomplish it. May it be a project, a business, something that you started, or may it be just trying to live life differently. It doesn't matter what it is, it reached a standstill, but the standstill is not really negative, it is not really distressing or anything. It is just like you worked for it and you worked persistently for a long time, for example, the past 7 months, or going even beyond that. So it's not something easy. It was really, really hard, especially at first, to break old routines and patterns. But now you earned a well-deserved rest, and this rest is nothing else than to enjoy the new that you have created for yourself. Yes, absolutely, it is not finished. It is not the final version. It is not, it doesn't meet your expectations or requirements. It's not perfection that you can just simply enjoy and harvest. But, even if you're just halfway on the journey, you can still take a little break and just enjoy everything that you have worked for. Because on one hand, you absolutely deserve it. And on the other hand, you really, really, really need to recharge yourself. To recharge your soul, to recharge your psyche, physically recharge yourself, rest a little bit, have a little bit of fun, spend time with yourself. And actually the message of the universe is not this. The message of the universe is that, your chariot is already on track, so why wouldn't you just sit on your chariot and let it carry you? Because you invested everything into it. If if those two horses are basically your drive, you already fed them, you watered them, you took care of them. So basically, psychologically, you input the command, you input the intent, the desire, the direction, the inner GPS. So right now, the horses are basically your drive, your willpower. All the work that you have done is much more powerful than your inner motor, so to speak. So why not just sit back and relax until the horses can carry you? When they cannot carry you anymore, as in when they get tired, then you are going to be recharged and you can just pump some power, intent, emotion, spark up your desire into them. So this way the chariot can get back on moving again. So don't you worry about anything. This is what the universe says. Because chances are that just sitting back and letting your chariot, whatever you put already into motion in the universe, or you planted into the universe, right now it can just carry you to the finish line. So don't worry about anything. Don't feel guilty for not investing as much effort into it. Just sit back and relax and let it carry you to the finish line. Now in the next message we have the Empress clarified by the Nine of Wands. Now this message speaks to two different situations, so two different people. One of them might refer to your family. You might be a parent, or you might be in a long-term partnership where both you and your partner, as in your family, experienced a lot of obstacles. You had to do a lot of things. You had to solve a lot of problems, maybe paperwork, legal problems, accomplishing something, or fixing your relationship psychologically. Sparking up your relationship is one expression of this card. And you have put a lot of effort into it, but so did your partner, so it's not just you. But this is where both of you might be a little bit tired and a little bit grumpy, and you might really second guess everything that you have done until this present moment. And this is where the universe is just telling you, the Nine of Wands, you're almost there. All of your efforts weren't, regardless of what you did. Maybe you did overtime at work, so you sacrificed time with your loved one, or maybe with your children. Or it could be that you just try to be your most supportive and understanding self, which also requires a lot of psychological effort. So it doesn't matter what you did, the universe is telling you, you have absolutely no idea how well it worked, and you have absolutely no idea how beautifully all of this is going to manifest in the future, because from a karmic perspective, what you've done was not only a wise choice where you applied the best of your wisdom, but you also made a big difference, not just in your life and in your family's life and in the life, of you and your partner or your children, but also your efforts and you trying really hard irradiated onto other people which are interconnected with your family, so you will get all of this back. So you have no idea what a good job you have done. So just persevere just a little bit longer, because the results will show in every single way and shape possible. Now for the other situation, you might be actually single and you might have set out on a journey to look for love, but you want a long-term relationship, you want something true, authentic, you want the real deal. But this is where we have the Empress, as in it doesn't matter who you are, male, female, it doesn't really matter, because it means that you are a person who knows that when you display your full personality in its full glory, you can be a little bit too much for other people, because you're very intelligent, because you're very willful, because you are very both down to earth, but at the same time you can switch into philosophy mode where you can reach highs that not even the most dreamy, philosophical or spiritual people can reach. So basically what this means is that naturally you're basically too much for most people. And this might be a little setback, because what exactly do you do? If you show your full capabilities, your true potential, everything that you are, and you're not basically someone who was born like this and end of story. No, you were someone who worked for this, who invested a lot of time, effort, energy, sacrifices to, for example, refine their intelligence, to reach certain masteries, to study psychology, exactly to understand other people. So basically you are who you are because you worked for it, and it is absolutely and perfectly natural for you not to accept in your life anything less. This doesn't mean that you want a person exactly as you are, but that person has to offer something very, very unique, what they have worked for very hard, because only that way is the alliance valid. And any partnership and alliance and relationship should be based on equilibrium, and that equilibrium requires for both sides to offer something that is very, very valuable and much needed to the other person. So the universe is telling you through that Nine of Wands, well, you might be very silent about your true expectations. You might be a little bit shy in the sense that you don't want to scare other people away, but you should be doing exactly the opposite, because when you're way too nice, when you are way too considerate, you're basically being swarmed, as in a swarm of flies, because who wouldn't want a person like you in their lives? But by doing that, you're both deceiving yourself and you're deceiving other people, because if you would show your true requirements, what you truly expect, what you truly desire and want, that Nine of Wands, well, people from the very beginning will know that they're not compatible. And this is the truth. Every single human being and even animals have to process at one point in their lives, because when you're rejected, you're rejected. It's no one's fault. And exactly when you reject the swarm away, maybe that one single person who is not afraid, who is not intimidated, and truly believes in themselves that they're capable of being a valid partner for you, well, that is exactly the person who you have to work with. Well, of course, there is no guarantee that they are definitely gonna match, but at least you allowed natural selection to work in your favor. So basically, the universe says, by all means, express yourself. Be as picky, as choosy, as even unfair as you would like, because you are helping yourself. And at the same time, well, you actually worked to be as choosy, to be full of expectation, basically. It is nothing negative in your case, because you worked for your wisdom, you worked for your intellect, you worked for your knowledge, you know psychology, and you invested a lot of hours into it. So you worked for your status to have expectations, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that, because basically that is how nature operates. Moving on to the next message, we have the Three of Cups reversed and the Five of Wands. Now this is actually the Uranian kind of message that I was expecting, because it means that Three of Cups reversed, it can either represent your circle of friends, people who you are connected to, but your connection is based on respect, mutual care, etc. So it is the right kind of friendship. But the problem is a conflict, a misunderstanding, hard feelings, or how should I even express myself? A competition or a battle between philosophies, worldviews, principles, opinions is starting to brew in your circle of friends, and you might not be aware of this in this present moment. So the universe is preparing you for the moment when the conflict truly breaks out. Well, this is where you shouldn't really take anyone's side other than yourself. Because, sometimes fate and the universe and the divine works in mysterious ways, sometimes for friendships to be consolidated, to get even stronger, to get way more real and authentic, battles, clashes need to take place, amongst friends. And that sometimes in life is absolutely perfect, it is absolutely natural, it is absolutely necessary, because this is the only way one can prevent fakeness, gossip, keeping things inside of them, not being honest with the other people. So, allow your friends to express their opinions, allow the clashes to take place, allow temporary, discontent, temporary conflict, or maybe getting upset to take place, because this is strictly necessary. Because if you don't take any sides, you just basically remove yourself from the conflict. When those two people or three people or how many, people are involved here can just naturally, their own ways, solve the conflict. And if you're not involved, if you're not a player in this, well then it's not a cowardly act, quite the contrary. You are the observer, you are the outsider, and everyone involved is gonna respect you in that position. So basically, stay out of conflict, don't take any sides, and just wait until this conflict consolidates the friendship and makes the connection even stronger, even better, meant for life. Now the final message, we have the Nine of Coins clarified by the Ace of Cups. Now, of course, this is one of those messages which appears to me to be way too good to be true, because the Nine of Coins speaks about your journey to get where you are in the present moment, which was like full of hardships, but in a way where you actually shouldn't be where you are now, because you reaching this level of mastery, of whatever it is that you overcame, well, it was almost impossible. Basically, you overcame yourself, your limitations, your conditions, in every single shape and form. And chances are that Nine of Coins, by being totally self-sufficient and not relying on absolutely anyone in your life, either psychologically or both psychologically and materially, you basically turned a very bad situation around. And the moment when you realized, well, what you actually have accomplished, what you've actually done, even though it wasn't something that overjoyed you whatsoever, because it was so hard that the victory actually had a very bitter taste for you, yet still, you have chosen to share your blessings with other people. Either you taught others how to do the same, you inspired other people, or basically you shared your resources, money, wealth, whatever you have done with others. And this part actually speaks about a very, very noble spirit that you embody, because most people in your situation, well, even after they have made it, not only wouldn't they have shared with anyone, but they would have just retreated and licked their wounds. They would have rewarded themselves. They would have showered themselves with kindness, with self-love, with, buy a lot of things. Or if it's just psychological, they would have disconnected from everyone else, from their lives, and just found new friends, new whatever. So, basically when you got into a position of power, even though it didn't seem to you that you're in a position of power, the very first gesture that you did was to nurture, take care, or spread your blessings, extend your self-nurture unto others. And yes, absolutely, you thought that the universe was not going to be impressed by this, or that the universe is basically either cold or just an intelligence with no heart, no feelings, no nothing. But this is where you're gonna be so very wrong, because the biggest blessing of your life awaits you. And what it is not totally certain, but one thing is for sure. You're gonna feel so much loved and appreciated by the universe that it's basically the power of love, the Ace of Cups. It doesn't matter how it manifests in your life. Not only is it gonna feel like a miracle, but it's basically gonna push you so very far away from your present situation that basically the past 9 years of your life is instantly gonna be just a faint memory which won't even matter anymore, because the blessing, the bliss, the joy, the fortune, the miracle that has happened to you is gonna basically overshadow everything that has ever happened in your life, good and bad, all put together. Well, thank you so much for listening. I wish everyone a blessed, magical, and surprising full moon. Until next time, bye for now.